It's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, shining at the end of every day. It's a great, big, beautiful day on NEM, and I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that you're hearing me. I'm grateful that you're seeing me. We are on the carousel of trajectory progress, and it's my joy to host you once again. I see some folks coming on from Twitter, from Facebook. I'm getting some thumbs up from YouTube, so we are good. I can be seen. I can be heard. I can be purple. I can be, well, I don't even know what the song is anyway, but I'm glad to be with you. Good morning to those of you who are long timers. We thank God for you, long timers. People, I know I had friends and family members deal with long COVID. It's awful. A lot of things that have come out of 2020, just not all happy things. But there's also NEM came out of 2020, and some of you are dealing with long NEM, long Omega View. And I'm grateful for all of you being on today. If you're first time listening to this, somebody has shared it with you, or you've come across it, and it's somehow found its way by divine miracle into your lap, you've come to a very special place. And if you're looking for, as I was talking to a person yesterday, they said, I've tuned into a couple of the NEMs, Nothing Else Matters show, which is what we're on. And all I can say is that he said, all I could do is weep because I know in the depth of myself that this is true. And that's what we're going for. We're not going for that which we have learned by religious conditioning, that which we have learned by um, even religious knowledge or biblical knowledge. We're looking toward and moving toward that which we know to be true by divine implantation, that which we know to be true from the intuitive knowing of the large self, the part of us that is made in the likeness and image of God. And you're going to hear some stuff today that's going to challenge your thinker, but it's going to resonate with your knower. And I'm so grateful for that. We're going to pray, but before we do, a quick thank you to each and every person who supports this ministry. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There's a handful of you. You mean the world to us. Big gifts, small gifts, saying, look, I see you. You are missionaries. You are on a mission. You are messengers. You are just trying to put out what God has put in your heart. I see you. I see your family, and you have our prayers and encouragement and our support. Thank you. Thank you for those of you who've maybe tuned in before, or maybe you tune in today and you say, man, there needs to be more of this. This needs to get, thank you for your support. I bless you and I bless God for you. I cannot tell you, when I tell you, there's no exaggeration. This is no hyperbole, right? No hyperbole here. It is day to day. It is hour to hour over these past 3 years since we've been doing this. And it is because of you, God, moving on your hearts, you yielding and being in faith with us. I'm grateful. Lord, I thank you for today. I thank you for the entrance of your word, bringing light for peace in, on us, and around each one, that you minister to us, spirit, soul, and body, and perfect every concern and perfect every situation. We roll all our care upon you. We remove ourselves from every distraction, that in this next moments together, we will sit, we will hear, we will be healed, we will be encouraged, we will be strengthened, we will be directed, we will be comforted, and just great peace. I thank you for it, Lord. I thank you for your presence, and that no weapon formed against this time shall prosper. I give you honor, glory, and praise, Lord, for everyone that's hearing today. I bless them, each one of them, in Jesus' name. And all that agree with those words say amen. Okay, let's get into it. We've been trying to move along. We've been hanging out for the past couple weeks in the book of Galatians, chapter 1. I'm not going to get to that today. It's there. Verses 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We won't get to that. I want to get right into it. The notes, if you're, as any of you know, on YouTube and on Facebook, we feed the notes to you piece by piece, coming right out of my little handy dandy notebook. We do that there. But also in the small group. You say, I'm not on, I watch on Twitter. I hadn't figured out yet how to get the live notes on Twitter. I'm not that fancy. But on our small group on Facebook, some say I left Facebook because I don't like the drama. I don't like the drama either. I left Facebook. I didn't leave Facebook. I'm just not on Facebook. But in our small group, it's a drama free. It's supposed to be anyway. But all the notes are there. So here it is, from the Omega View. That's what we're dealing with on NEM. From the Omega View, coming into your notes quickly. I guess for a title, let me give you this. We're on part 11, which is just crazy. We're working towards finding your story within the story. And of course, on the stream, you can see the title today, No Religion Has to Be Perfect. So let's catch this. From the Omega View. From what we're talking about, the Omega View, from from the highest view you can imagine, seated with God, right? What does Jesus talk about in Matthew 6, or Matthew 5 and Luke 6, right? Be like your heavenly Father. Come up and see the world from where your Father sees the world. When I say the Omega view, and I'm continuing this definition in your notes, the Omega view, that finality of religious understanding, right? The finality of religious understanding that we shall all possess. When you think of Alpha, right? I guess maybe from your angle, when you think of Alpha and Alpha working its way to Omega, a beginning and an end, we're talking about the Omega view, what we will see when we get to that final understanding, the finality, that when we finally put a period on our religious understanding, our God concept, that which we shall all possess. When will we possess this? In your notes, when we at last glimpse God, which when we at last, when all of us, right, in the sweet by and by when we understand it, by and by when the morning comes, going up yonder, if anybody asks you where I'm going, right, when we at last get to that place, when we at last first glimpse God, when we at last glimpse God apart from our collective, personal, cultural, conditioned biases, let me tell you, when we at last glimpse God in truth, it'll be when we first glimpse God in truth. The Omega view, how we'll understand at the end. At the end, when we at last understand, oh, I get it now. I see what's happening. So Bruce Willis, it makes sense now. Because see, he didn't even reach for I get it now. Okay. So you can comment the reference if you know it. So when we at last glimpse God, which will be the first time we glimpse God. And when I say glimpse God, I don't mean we'll finally see God on the throne. We'll see him. That's not what I mean. I mean, we'll finally understand the mind, the source, the order of the cosmos, the sans cosmic that we call God. When at last we understand, which will be the first time we understand, when we at last or at first glimpse God, when we have a notion and a concept of God that exists apart from, in your notes, our collective biases. We as a group, we as a human collective group, and within our own groups have a biases, have a blindness, right? A personal blindness and bias, right? A cultural blindness and bias. Our culture, religious structures and shapes take place over time. They're built with our nation, our people that look like us, people that act like us, people that think like us, people who occupy the same land, right? These things get built over time. We have cultural biases. We have conditioned blindnesses. When at last we glimpse God without the filters, which would be the first time any of us has glimpsed God without the filters. That's what the Omega view is talking about. When I say on NEM, what I'm trying to, someone said, what is it you're trying to teach here? I'm trying to teach the Omega view. I'm trying to have some sort of precognition forecast. Can we intuit? Can we divine, right? By intuitive implanted image-seated knowing by which we're made in the likeness and image of God, by which, as the writer of Romans said, that which may be known of God is manifest inside humanity. That can we, not by looking at our small self, which is the chaos condition and the selfishness, but by looking at our highest, our large self, can we get it? So we're trying to do that now. So when I talk about the Omega view, I'm talking about the largeness of religious understanding, not our smallness now, but the largeness of religious understanding, which awaits us all. It awaits us red, yellow, brown, black, white. It awaits us Democrat and Republican. It awaits us LGBTQIA plus, right? It awaits us Sunni or Shia or Confucius or Buddhist or Taoist or it awaits us all, right? Nature religions. It awaits us all. The largeness of religious understanding, which awaits us all in the there then, right? So when we get there, when we get to that next place, when we get to that then, there is a religious understanding that is large that awaits us all, right? But what are we doing here every Sunday morning? What are we doing? Live and via replay. We're purposing to open ourselves to it now. We're purposing to open ourselves to the largeness of what we'll understand in there then. We're purposing to, in your notes, to open ourselves to that now, to make the requisite inner and outer doctrinal room. Can we make room for God? Can we sit on the bench and scooch over so that a larger understanding of God can sit down? And our inner life sometimes doesn't want to make fear, doesn't want us to make room for God. Our outer life, I've built a life around this. I've built a culture and a home and a family and a self-referential identity around but can I make room for it in my inner life? Can I make room for a larger picture of God in my outer life? Can I make room for a larger picture of God in my doctrinal life? Can I make more room in the here now to hopefully accommodate or get a glimpse of what I might, just a little tiny hem of the garment of what we will all understand in the there then. So that is what we're working on. And according to that, so what I'm talking about today is not talking about, and here's what happens sometimes, I thought about that. One of the great things, and I'll just be honest here, one of the great things is that I don't have a church now. I realize in hindsight, so I used to pastor a church a number of years ago. I was a associate minister at a church, associate pastor, I guess we didn't use that term, but when I was 1993, so I was 19, right? That's when I started. And I did that all the way up until I was 42, 43 years old. And I was intricately woven into a church structure in some capacity. And the Omega view, what I'm suggesting now, I could not suggest this in my traditional church structure. A lot of people said, well, why did you step down? Why did you turn the church over? Why did you do this? We loved it. I haven't been the same since that. I didn't know, other than I knew there was something beyond. Other than I knew there was something that was bigger than that my big old stepsister foot couldn't fit inside this glass slipper. There was something larger than that. And I had to make life room, right? Then I had to make room in my own family. I had to make room with my children, sit my children down, I didn't sit my wife down, but we laid down in bed. And Connie will tell you 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm saying, okay, what about this? It's bigger than this, but I had to make room. Some of you have had to make room. Some of you have written me just stories, and part of my heart hurts for you, and then part of my heart rejoices for you. Say, my spouse, I'm totally in. I'm totally in on the Omega view. I'm totally in on the living word above the written word, but my spouse is not. And it's difficult because my spouse wants me to go, and I go, and I always hear, God hates the gays and the Muslims. He's going to send them all to hell. God hates the Catholics and the Protestants unless they believe the way we believe, and they're going to go to hell. And God hates the Democrats and the Republicans, and they're going to go to hell. God loves everybody, but he still has to send them to hell because just goes on and on and on. And they say, I can't abide it anymore. And part of me says, I apologize for letting my internal turmoil pushing against the confines of the old thoughts. I'm sad that spilled over to you. But then again, I'm thrilled that it spilled over to you because I can't go back either, right? I can't go back either. So when we talk about I want to understand the here now on the large view that I'll understand there then, it's going to require you to make some room, inner room, outer room, doctrinal room. Does God have room to squeeze down a bigger picture of God's self in our lives? Okay, so in this context, right, we estimate, get this, we estimate human movers and movements within this trajectoried arc, right, of religious and righteous progress. So my old religious view kind of was like this on the screen here. Thanks, Mike. My old religious view was that it started out in the alpha and things were good. And since that time, things have only gotten more disorganized and chaotic. And the chaos is going to spin so far out of control that God has no choice but to just cut it off, get rid of everything that was, and start brand new. That was my old idea. Now, my new idea, not my new idea, but if you go back and you believe that God is bigger than this colossal continual mismanagement that we're conditioned, I think of it this way, that it started off as an alpha, as good, as God, as love, and that regardless of what the chaos looks like, we are moving throughout time, not in a willy-nilly, flotsam and jetsam, here, there, hither, thither, and yon, or whatever. No, we're moving across an arc of a trajectory, and we're moving towards a place. What place are we moving to? To an omega. To a place of good. a place of God, a place of love. I believe the origin of the cosmic story is, man, I blocked my whole self out there. Mike, can we do a splitter? I don't even think we'll get a split. Nope, can't do it that way. All right, go back. So I can't even move out of the way. So the origin is the alpha, the good, the God, the love. I believe the conclusion is the alpha, the good, the God, the love. And that along this trajectoried arc, that it's not just floating out here, but it's going in a certain way, that along this, right, are movers and movements. And these movers and movements help move us along the trajectoried arc of understanding, of embodiment, of, so here they are. We have human movers and human movements that are moving within the movement of a, and as these human movers and movements happen, what happens? As they do their thing, what happens? Our sight is supposed to be growing. Our sight is supposed to be getting wider. We're supposed to be coming more into the larger picture of God when we, and so we say, where are we going to end up? We're going to end up at the beginning. What? We're going to end up with a mirror reflection of God, love, good, and the alpha is God, love, good, and the omega. I hope you can understand that. Thank you, Michael. So we must estimate these human movers and movements within, typo there, our shared common single trajectory. It's not that the Muslims are on a track and the Christians are on a track and the Jewish people are on a track and the Buddhists are on a track and the Tao. No. It's not that. It's not that we're all on. It's that it's one track. It's the entire creation moving along this arc, right? And there are human movers and movements within it. But these, in your notes, are mirror, and I have mirror, M-E-R-E, in quotes, because I don't mean that they're nothing, they're significant. These movements and movers, these human movers, are conduits. They're vessels. They're imperfect embodiments. So we have human movers that help us as humanity along the track. We have human movements that help us as humanity along the arc, right? But these human movements and movers are mere conduits, right? They're mere vessels. They're imperfect embodiments of what? Divine motion and momentum. Divine motion and momentum. So we have human movements, human movers, but those are merely vessels of divine motion and momentum. They're conduits of divine motion and momentum. They're imperfect embodiments of divine motion and momentum. Now, let's see if we can catch this on our screen here, and I'll see if we can break it down, and I'll see if I can stay off the blind part here. So we've been talking about this. We've got the up here is us in time, right? Creation. It's the cosmos, right? Down here is the eternal. It doesn't move through time. It always is. The enduring always. Right? Below, what takes place below, we have, and we've talked about this, and I just got to be real careful. We have the source, or what we've called the stream. And that manifests itself above ground as the shape, the structure. And now I'm saying that there are above ground, up here, there are movers and movements that are connected to and embodiments and expressions of emotion and a momentum. And I'm only doing this for momentum, for alliterative purposes, right? You got to avoid unintentional alliteration. So it's these human, right? These are human movers Think of the prophets, right? Think of the people that we know. Think of ancient prophets, modern day prophets, people who worked in charity, people who worked for justice, people who worked for dignity, people who championed the rights of personhood, all these other kind of things, right? That they're human movers and movements. And these human movers and movements, which we see above the line, right? We see them in time. These human movers and movements are really simply embodiments, vessels, conduits of divine motion and momentum. So truth does not move. Truth is not moving. We in time are progressing along an arc that we are coming into an understanding. And what's happening is the enduring always is seeping up from the spirit, if you will, from the there then in the right now. And human movers get glimpses of it. Human movements get fragments of it. But the human movers and movements are not the ultimate. The ultimate is the divine motion and momentum that is moving beneath. Not moving. It gives us. You ever been in a car and you're sitting still at a light and the car behind you starts to go backwards and you think, oh my gosh, my car is moving, or a car goes, and you think that. So it seems like, well, there's no movement at all, but it feels like movement. It feels like momentum. It feels like motion because we are experiencing something new, but it's only new to us. It's only a bigger idea to us. And I don't mean right here in 2023. I'm talking about throughout time, right? You go to Hammurabi, you go to the Assyrians, you go to the Babylonians, you go to the Egyptians, you go to the Far East, the Near East, you go to Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, Eastern Africa, Northern Africa. I mean, you just go all the way. I mean, you go to the native, the natural religions. I mean, you just keep, and all throughout time, right? And there are human movers and movements in each one. And even though they didn't take the same shape, right? Because there's different shapes to it, there's different structures to it. They are movements and representatives and conduits of the shared one stream, source, motion, and momentum that is moving us through the cosmos. Golly, here we go. So this divine motion and momentum, thank you. I don't need that right now. Thank you, buddy. It is otherwise known as the leaven, right? Think of the teachings of Jesus, right? Jesus talks about that the movement, that the progress in the right now world is like leaven, it's like yeast. It's like saying, here's some dough, the world, the cosmos, creation, humanity, human system structures, nations, whatever it is, religious structures. That's dough, and putting a little leaven, a little yeast in that, and it keeps working through, and it says this, until the whole of the thing is leavened. This is how we know our version of Christianity, our old version of Christianity, cannot possibly be true. Because our old version of Christianity does not give us a picture of the end where the leaven has worked through the whole. It doesn't give us a picture of the end where the seed has become a tree with such branches that every human in the air, every fowl of the air, can find refuge in the seed of the not yet and the right now. That's not how we're told. That's how I believe Jesus of Nazareth, that's how I believe it was taught, but we weren't past that baton. We were past that baton of the leaven of Christ, and the teaching of the not yet and the right now is going to be as much of a colossal failure as every other colossal failure of God's new creation systems. I mean, we treat God like he's a government reformer. Well, we tried welfare and that didn't work, and we tried the Marriage Act and that didn't work, and we tried the lower taxes and that didn't work. We tried to raise tax and that didn't work. I can't figure out what I'm doing. That's what we're told about God. But I believe the truth is that the teaching we have of Jesus is right. At least that part of it, which is this, that the truth of the not yet in the right now, that as it changes people inside and leavens inside them and they start to see different, then that truth will move in people who start to be different. And when individuals form collectives of seeing and being differently, those individuals and collectives become movers and movements within the right now as embodiments of the motion and momentum of the not yet, and the world should be moving closer and closer towards the end rather than backwards towards the divided, chaotic, what was. Okay, I just need to move on. So the leaven of the not yet, Mike, I know I'm jumping around, thank you, is working throughout the right now. That's what we believe. So, geez. All right, I'm going to use the board one more time here. So we have below the line the motion, the momentum, the source, the stream. We have above the line the shape, the structure, the movers, the movements, transactional religion seeks to memorialize and build a sacred wall around these. It seeks to say the movement is the thing. The mover is the thing. The shape, the structure is the thing. True religion puts its emphasis on that which is above the surface. But you already know. Transactional religion seeks to memorialize the movers, the movements, the shape, and the structure. It seeks to say, this is the ideal. So much so that it's always seeking to go backwards. It's always seeking to go back. And I think of Archie Bunker, the songs that Glenn Miller played, the way Glenn Miller played, I think it was, the songs that made the hit parade. Guys like us, we had it made. Those were the days, and you knew who you were then. Girls were girls and men were men. We could use a man like Hoover again, right? It's romanticized. Why? Because it's looking back at a structure. We see this all the time. Part of the world that I move in, still somewhat to a degree, is in the this idea of a fully realized dignity and equality for all Americans. One of the things I hear is people say, well, there's no black leadership today. There's no black leadership today. Where's the Malcolm X's? Where's the Jesse Jacksons? Where's the blah blah blah? They've all sold out, blah blah blah. And Martin King's right. Well, it's a deception. It's a deception that somehow those movers and those movements were the heyday of progress. That's a deception. We are not focused in true religion on the upper manifestations of shapes, structures, movers, and movements. We put our faith in the motion, the momentum, the stream, and the source by which the movement happens. We don't say, well, it was great back then. The church needs to get back then. Back when people really respected. Back when the reverend was thought of as good. Back when people came, it didn't matter how long the service was. Now they look at their watch. Back when people would be at church 6 days a week. And now back when kids would sit down, and if they didn't sit down, they'd get pinched. And if they didn't get pinched, they'd get the eye. That's back when it wasn't crazy. Find me a time when it wasn't crazy. Find me a time in the last 1,000 years, 2,000 years of recorded history where there was not comments upon the recklessness of youth and the terrible lazy ways and lustful ways of youth. This is going on as far back because it's a human condition. But when you think we need to get back to the shape, to a structure, to a movement, to a mover that was when God was really at work, you are deceived. Because the truth is, it's the leaven that is the thing. It's the leaven that is at work, and we have to have more faith in the leaven. We have to have more faith in the stream, in the source, in the motion, and in the momentum than we have loyalty, fidelity, and post hindsight bias, romanticization, where we're really in love with that which is really, it's like looking over an ex, my gosh, my ex. You forget you broke up for a reason, right? If you haven't worked out that reason, you go back. So, when I was in high school, there was a guy and he was so cute and he was that and this and that. Why'd you leave him? Well, he was sleeping with all my friends. There was a reason that you left him, right? You have to. So anyway, moving on. True religion, transactional religion seeks to memorialize that which is passing. But true religion seeks to embody that which is enduring. What we must learn, what we must know, what we must accept, what we must admit, and I'm asking you to learn, know, and admit this today. This is hard, what I'm getting ready to say. This is going to be very difficult because I already understand the objection as to why we wouldn't. What we have to learn, know, admit, and accept is the vanity of defending human movers and movements and the vanity of besmirching human movers and movements. There's a vanity in saying, this was awesome, he was awesome, she was awesome. It's vain to do that. Why? Because at best, the he that was awesome, the she that was awesome, that was a real man of God. That was a real woman of God. That person was really anointed. you're not going to look at any human mover and movement. You're not going to look at any human mover and not get below the surface and find some ugliness. So it's vain to try to defend them as though they lack any ugliness, and it's vain to try to besmirch them as though you're looking at them as though you could find somebody that you could point to and say they have absolutely no negative in them. It cannot be found. It cannot be found. Why? Because no human mover, no human movement, none in your notes are entirely aligned. None are entirely without corruption. There's no human mover, no prophet, no person, that doesn't matter. You're not going to find any that you can't look deep enough to somebody that knew them somehow, some way, that somebody was close to them, that there was not an element of corruption inside them. You can't look at any movement and say it was entirely aligned. You can't do it. No human mover or human movement is ever going to be as pure as the stream, source, motion, and momentum of God. The best they can do is be a hobbled, partial, hopefully there's less shadow than light to try to point them to that which is endured and pure. And so we do ourselves a disservice to go, well, these people, I think about like Martin Luther, right? Martin Luther is a human mover. He's a part of a human movement. There's a lot of other people involved in that, but he's an iconograph, spokesperson, I guess, in history for a movement which was making God bigger, making it less corrupt, making it less human, more divine, less external, more internal. I mean, moving it off of institutional reliance to universal. I mean, Martin Luther was a mover within a movement, and he was a rabid anti-Semite. He was a rabid anti-Semite, right? He didn't like Jews. He believed Jews were the problem. He believed Jews were the doctrinal corruption. He believed that Christ was fundamentally against the Jews. So, my gosh, how could a mover in a movement do something divine but also be so awful? Because all movers and all movements are at best flawed embodiments, flawed conduits, flawed vessels of the perfect divine. You're not going to find anybody. You're not going to find anybody. So since it's vain to defend, oh man, the Catholic Church, they're so evil. No, they're the ones that brought education. They put up free school. Yeah, but the only reason they did it, the Quakers, you say they helped out, but why did they help out? Because they were trying to get, you're not going to find anybody that you can legitimately straight-face defend, and you're going to find everybody that you can besmirch, but your besmirchment is totally illegitimate, because in order for your besmirchment to be legitimate, you have to find some institution that was not equally awful. All these Christian camps and these Boy Scouts and these things doing all that kind of stuff. Okay, yeah, fine. Tell me what would you like to go to government institutions? Well, the Boy Scouts and this and that, and they're just molested boys. And okay, well, do you want to? Well, show me an institution that doesn't have that problem. Show me an institution that doesn't have that problem. Well, Phil and his church, they meet out in the yard. Okay, Phil is 5 people. All right, fine. Give it enough time, though. Give it enough time. You're going to find out something on Phil. Well, Phil's dead. He wasn't important enough. Listen, nobody cares until you're somebody. Once you're somebody, that's when all of the glaring light comes down. And all of our beloved heroes, they are human movers and did human movements, but none of them are beyond nobody has the trajectory to move away from being flawed. We lack that velocity. It's not trajectory. We lack the velocity to escape that gravitational pull. So what do? In your notes, we get on with the business of championing. Instead of trying to defend and besmirch above ground things, we move on with the business of championing and celebrating and compelling the divine motion and momentum below the ground. We go on to celebrating, championing, compelling that which is ever working towards the ever shall be. That's a true religious practice. I mean, John Calvin did a lot. John Calvin also had people killed for not believing what he was saying. I mean, you're not going to find, well, man, John Calvin's evil, this person's evil, Malcolm X is evil, Martin King is evil, Jesse Jackson's evil, Rosa Parks is evil, Gandhi was evil. I mean, Gandhi's a perfect example. Gandhi's a perfect example. So, oh my gosh, Gandhi would make films, make this. Yeah, but you dig into it and you're going, yeah, that's right. And man, before I look around, everybody's evil. Yeah, guess what? You don't have to look too far. Yeah, the more I get into it and start studying now the church and this, and everybody's corrupt, and this movement and that movement, and the Muslims and the Jews, and everybody, the more I look around, and when you really dig back into it, what was really going on, you don't have to dig back into stuff to find out that humanity shares a frailty and a flaw. You don't have to go to your downstairs and talk to the rest of your family. You just have to look in the mirror to know that's true. So we're not going to bother ourselves and burden ourselves with trying to defend the indefensible or to besmirch that which is condemning us as we're pointing our fingers, right? That's the whole point. I'm telling you, I'll give you a statement here. It's going to really bother you, but it's going to help you. One of the most regrettable things that we have in the New Testament is that the book of Matthew is the first gospel that we read. The book of Matthew and the book of John do not give you an accurate representation of the person of Christ. Mark and Luke are closest. Matthew, not so much. So many things are added in. So many things are added for the sake of balance, or added for the sake of future preservation. I don't have time to go into it now. Maybe I'll get into it in another session. But, this thing of how are you going to go through life trying to pull the speck out of somebody else's eye when you can't even pull the beam out of your own eye? That is a divine truth. That is a powerful idea. Yeah, we're going out to go, oh, you got a problem, let me get it. It's you. The point of Christ, the point of God is look at yourself. But then Matthew adds this weird little thing. So get all the imperfections out of your eye, and then you can go after everybody else's eye. That's not the mind of God. It's not, oh yeah, let me deal with, I dealt with me, so now I can deal with you. There is no level at which you will have dealt with yourself at which all blindness will be removed. Not in this life. Not until we at last see when at first we will see. But the idea of, I got my crap cleaned up, so now I'm going to get everybody else's crap cleaned up. And I'm doing it based on the book of Matthew. You are doing it based on an antichrist, Christ amiss, Christ askew, religious deception. If I had an organ. I mean, it'd be just as true. Some of you are standing up right now with a rag. Preach, Bishop. Right, that's good. None are truly aligned. None are without corruption. So we get on with the business of saying, okay, I have to look at the movements. I have to look at the movers. Oh, Gandhi's bad, and Martin King's bad, and Calvin is bad. I mean, just take them all. I mean, Jefferson's bad. Yeah, Jefferson, man, my God. Yeah, problem. There's a problem. So somebody say, why are you so against Thomas Jefferson? I'll tell you why I'm so against Thomas Jefferson. I'm not really against Thomas Jefferson because I know there's no human that has zero blind spots. I have blind spots. But Thomas Jefferson, he was a slave raper. I am not a raper. He was a slave raper. But it's no different than cheating at a board game, right? It's no different than not telling somebody that you landed on their property because they were busy checking their phone and you just hope it goes by. It's no difference. I mean, that's all deception. That's not asinine. That's asinine. So what is your problem with Thomas Jefferson? My problem is not with Thomas Jefferson. My problem is with people who, in the name of Christ, put this person up as a memorialized mover and movement that we should move back to, as though there's an absence, as though there's a corruption in what's going on now that was somehow absent from what was. That's my anger. My anger is the same way with Paul. We looked at it last week. Anybody, Paul said, that disagrees with me, let them be under a curse. He doesn't mean anybody who claims to see God more than I do and is moving along the trajectory inside into the larger and larger view, let them be accursed. He's saying anybody who's trying to take us backwards to what we know is a shadowed view. That's the point. If you get up and you tell me Thomas Jefferson had some good ideas. He borrowed a little bit of ideas. Everybody does. He was influenced by, everybody is. It's one thought. It's one mind. It's one, we all pull out of it. We borrow from. We're inspired by ways we don't even know we're inspired by ways. Is Ed Sheeran's song, did it come from Marvin Gaye? Court says no. How do you know? You listen to one of the greatest songs of all time and you get down and you go and all of a sudden you sit down and you say, I don't think that was it. Who knows where each other stopped because it's all one organism. We're all intraconnected. So we look back over Thomas Jefferson and we go, you know what? Had some great ideas. Can we agree with the idea that it is self-evident that all humans are created equal and that they are endowed by their creator with rights? That's an idea we can get with. Did he originally pen it? Did he borrow it? It doesn't matter. I'm not besmirching. I'm not defending. Can we get with the idea? I don't know if I can get with that idea because that idea was put forth by a slave raper. Listen, I get it. An anti-Semite, a slave raper, a racist, a person who cheats on their wife, a person who abused women. I mean, there's all, you're going to find well, she was really great, but I heard she was not kind to her employees and that she yelled at people a lot and that she was kind of flirty on that. But see, the only reason you have a problem with her is because you think that somebody can be defended as though they've never done anything wrong. And I'm telling you, the besmirching is as empty as the defense. So my problem is not with Thomas Jefferson, it's with people in the name of Christ who try to paint that as some sort of major divine movement, that what's going on now, that somehow Thomas Jefferson is this divine Holy Ghost person and Biden is not. That is my problem. Well, don't you think about Trump and his... This is the thing I think about Clinton. It's the same thing I think about... I mean, where are we going with this? Where are we going with this? Well, you say it's just to be okay. And the rest of, so you're saying you're okay with Hitler, so there's good parts about Hitler? Listen, whenever somebody plays the Hitler card, you already know the argument is lost. Because you already know that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the futility. I'm talking about the vain emptiness of saying there's a move or a movement behind us that I can put an accurate defense up for that nobody can kick the legs out from under, and you are wasting your time in that. And you're also wasting your time. Let me go back and find all these people that are supposed to be doing, and let me show that they really weren't that. You are wasting your time with that. That's what transactional, small, divisive ideas of the divine are. The large idea says, look, I can look back at every movement and mover and look past their seeming perfection, past their obvious imperfection, and look into, do I see some source and stream and motion and momentum here? And that's what I'm addicted to. For me, the motion, momentum, stream, and source, that is the juice. That is what I'm after. That's why in the Omega View, people say, you ought to write this down. You ought to write your doctrine down. You ought to say, here's the 12 things we believe. I'm resisting structuring and shaping because because even though I purpose to be a mover and a movement, I'm not wanting anything to be focused on movement. I'm doing my best to try to stay up with the motion, momentum, stream, and source. And that's what I encourage you to do. Go into any church, go into any mosque, go into any synagogue, go into any temple. It doesn't matter. Go out and have a solstice celebration or a new lunar new year. But do whatever you want to do. But within any movement, within any movers, within any person or place or idea that seems to be influential, do not be deceived. None of them are perfect. All of them are flawed because we are not perfect and we are not flawed. No amount of doctrine is 100% correct. No amount of doctriners are 100% correct. But if you get close enough to each one, if you're a source, stream, motion, momentum-minded person, you're going to find God was there even despite the corruption. And guess what? Then you can look around in the modern day and say, wow, there's a lot of people that I see that I disagree with, but if I stop my besmirching and defending campaign, I'll challenge you, the Biden and the Democrats are the worst. I'll challenge you, Trump and the DeSantis and I'm telling you, you're deceived in life. You're missing the point. You're trying to defend and besmirch structures, but what God is doing is the subsurface leaven that's working regardless of who and how flawed the movers and the movements are. Forgive me for cursing. Okay, so why do we get on with the motion and celebration and compelling of the motion and momentum? Why do we get on with that business? Because it is always aligned with the divine mind. The movers and the movements are not 100%. I'm not 100% in line with the divine mind. But the motion and the momentum and the source and the stream that we are purposing to embody, flawless though we may be, that is always in line. True religion is built on the conviction that something good, in your notes, something good. I got something and good capitalized in my notes. Maybe you have a tree in yours. Maybe you have a bird in your photo. I don't know. True religion is built on the conviction that something good, cap S, cap G, not top G. Cap S, cap G. Something good, something benevolent is working throughout the age and the cosmos. True religion is built on the idea that something good is at work. Man, there's been wars and rumors of war. There has. There's been abuse and enslaving and corruption and racism and sexism and oppression. There has. But you know what? True religion is built on the conviction and the faith. I see all that chaos, but I believe that beneath, through, and above, something has been inching us good, benevolent. Something has been moving us forward. And true religion also believes that any and all, in your notes, who are truly aligned with love. If you're truly aligned with love, that's what I tell you. If you're trying to figure out what religion is, what true religion is, just figure out love. How do I figure out love? Figure out empathetic, sympathetic seeing and feeling and action. See if you can figure that part out. See if you can figure out how in suffering and in true bonds of friendship and love that somehow the divine is revealed. Not that the divine comes out of suffering, but that our openness to it is more real. Yeah, well, to me, love is if you love somebody and you know the hell truck is coming for them, you scream at them and say, get out of the way. And if they don't get out of the way, you push them out of the way. And if they don't push out of the way, then you put them in jail and you burn them up, but give them a chance to get out of the way, because that's love. Love is telling you that God is after you. And I'm saying that's a love that is perverted by a supposition of first things. If your religious worldview begins with God is an impossible tyrant who doesn't look at all like Jesus of Nazareth and is at war with everybody, who's not the few people on his side, and even the few people on his side, it's only a matter of time before he puts you to the next door neighbor because he knows they're an abuser, and then he brings you back over and says, I hope you learn your lesson getting beat and raped for 50 years, and then he says, now I'm going to go beat and rape the guy that beat and raped you. I mean, that's the demonic presentation of God throughout the Old Testament, and it was written sincerely to bring order. It was written as a move and a movement to try to bring forth a clear vision of God. And then we believe in our faith that Christ showed up and corrected all that crap. Said, yeah, nah, that's not. He said, I'm not. That's not how it is. I know what you think, but that's not how it is. That all who are truly aligned with love and God through embodiment, we can hasten the immediacy and the relevance of the good, benevolent thing. That's true religion. Man, dude, we had to work a long way to get to that, but that's what it is. True religion is, I believe something good is at work. And I believe that good thing that's at work, over time through movers and movements, has taken on various shapes and structures. But I don't put my emphasis on the shapes and structures. I keep my faith on the something good beneath it all that's been bubbling up over time. And I believe that if I will purpose to align myself with love, which is aligning myself with God, that which is being worked throughout, that which we're heading towards, I can start to embody the finish line in the right now. I can start to hasten its immediacy and relevance, that there's a good thing that we're headed to by work of something good, and all who are in line with love, all who are aligned with God, go through the world. They don't have to go to Publix. They don't have to go to Kroger. They don't have to go to Piggly Wiggly, right? They don't have to go to Heinen's. What is it? They don't have to go to Heinen's. They don't have to go anywhere. They can go in their own dinner table. They can go to their own dog or their own cat, their own son or their own daughter, their own spouse, and say, guess what I am? I am in harmony and in cooperation with the good, benevolent thing that's working throughout, and I'm not tied to a movement. I'm not tied to a mover. I'm not tied to a structure. I'm not tied to a system, to a shape. I am tied to love. And the good thing that's coming, I'm doing my part to hasten in its immediacy and hasten its relevance in the right now, because I'm a stream man. I'm a stream man. I'm a stream woman. You know, they got, I don't want to tell you anything. I'm not going to say the name of the person that thinks this way, but I know people. I know a person who, with the right dark eyes and the right kind of fluffy dark hair and the right little twist of the head, the word I've heard is so pretty. He's so pretty. It's a type, right? Some guys, right? Some guys, I'm a leg man. I'm a breast man. I'm a butt man. You know, whatever. So lady says, I'm a calf woman. Whatever. I don't know what kind of person. Let me tell you, I'm a stream person. I'm a source person. I'm a motion and moment. What religion are you? Stream. What denomination is that? Source. Okay, but like, so what? I mean, movement. Emotion, momentum. What? I believe that something good is happening, and that good started with love, and it's moving us towards love, and that if I align myself with love and be love in the universe, that I'm somehow contributing. My religious practice is somehow embodying and hastening the immediacy and relevance of that which is at work and that which is going to be one day seen. That's my religion. It's God religion. love religion. I'm an imago deist. I believe that everything that is out is an expression of God, and that there are dark forces that are at work. Those dark forces can be capitalized with the DF or lowercase for the DF, but it's basically an expression of the conflict of free will, the small self, the chaos conditioned self, that we all sort of come out of dysfunction that pulls us down, but we also are aware of a higher light that we aspire to, and somewhere in that tension we kind of make our lives, hopefully making a little less dysfunction after us as came before us, but we all have these tumbling dominoes that have affected our lives, and we live in a world that's been affected by that, and it's hard to even imagine the world as it would have been had none of this happened. But we do our best to embody love in the middle of that, because even though we look around and say, this is all beeped up, even though we look at that, we say, yeah, but I still believe something good is working its way forward, because even though I'm convinced of the chaos, I'm not so convinced of the chaos that I don't have something in me like a beach ball in the water that makes me rise, that I feel something lifting me. And so what happens? What do movers do? Movers come and say, I see the America that can be. There was an America in which there was not segregated bathrooms and segregated public facilities and segregated water fountains and segregated. That America in the not yet it was already real in the not yet. But movers and movements, what? They hasten to embody what's not yet in the right now. What's the point? The point is that you look at the movers and you look at the movements, and if you're in the business of defending them, you're wasting your time. They're not perfect. If you're in the business of besmirching them, you're wasting your time. You're going to find that with everybody. But if you're in the business of looking at the movers and movements, who in the 1920s, the Abernathys and the A. Philip Randolph, the 30s and the 40s, if you're interested in looking at those things and saying, okay, what do I see here? What I see is those people in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, 60s saw a 2010 America, and they said, that America, and so they movers and movemented that which was not yet into the right now as conduits and vessels and imperfect embodiments of a world that was not yet. They brought it into the right now, and that was divine. And it was divine through human movement, through human movers. Even if the humans weren't divine, that which came forth from them, which was below the stream, below the line, which was from outside of time, that which was from the eternal not yet, that seeped through into the chaotic right now, that was the divine part, and there's no sense in condemning or defending them. Why? Because all they were was merely, and I say merely, I mean, it's a powerful thing in any way. It's a powerful thing to be a flawed conduit of the not yet at the deli counter. It's a powerful thing to be a flawed conduit of not yet at the buying. I went out yesterday and bought a pair of shorts. And was just talking to the lady, and Con and I were talking to the lady, and she says, man, I just can't tell you guys have totally changed my life. You totally changed my day. And we were just talking to her. I could tell she was having a bad day. And I just talked to her. And how's your day going? She said, good. I said, it's been drama free. She said, it's been all right. She says it was, and then it all blew up. I said, well, you know what, blah, blah, blah. I just pray the rest of your day, and this and that. And she goes, you know what, just you guys talking to me has done me so much good. And she's like, oh my gosh, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, is that your real name? Oh my gosh, that's so great. Oh wow, you guys are even better than Brad and Angelina. And I was like, well, I don't know. They're really awesome people. I don't know. But anyway, and so we talked, and she was like, she said, please, if you ever come back here, just come see me, come find me, because you just brought life into my day. Now, in my old religious way, it was, yeah, good. Maybe I can get her open. Maybe I can invite her to church. Maybe I can get her out of the Hell Express. But now it's love for love's sake. Why? Because I'm purposing to be a flawed vessel, merely as a vessel, a conduit, an embodiment of the love of the not yet in the chaotic right now. That is the highest we can reach for in true religion. And we can do this. We can hate. We can. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Somebody said, "What's wrong with you?" I looked at my notes, and I'm okay. I'm going to give you these 2 lines. So I'm hastening its immediacy and relevance. But I can do this. There's 2 lines left. 3. Without being discouraged by the staged 3 steps forward, 2 steps back nature of divine progress. What I mean staged? I mean, man, every time you think we've made progress, it seems like something comes up. I want you to get into this idea of faith of net progress. That we made 3 steps forward, that's a plus. Then it seems like 2 steps backwards, that's a minus. But 3 minus 2, you know what that means? We moved a little forward. Yeah, we're at ladder rung 1. Yeah, we moved forward, but I thought we were at 3, but then took back, we're on 1. Yeah, but guess what? We're getting ready to move 3 forward again. So we're going to go from ladder rung 1 to 2, 3, 4. Yeah, but we're going to be back. We're going to be brought back 2 steps. 3, 2. We're at 2. Yeah, but man, there's been a movement and a mover, and I feel like it's going forward. Wow, we're at 2, we'll go 3, 4, 5. Woo, I just feel like, man, we have got it. We got Barack Obama elected, President Obama. Man, I feel like we've done it. Oh, crap, man, what the heck, man? Yeah, but you know what? The staging feels, the shifting, the jerkiness feels like a teenager learning to drive stick on a hill at a stoplight. I mean, that's what it feels like, but you can't be moved by that. Why? Because our faith says, even though it feels like we take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, my faith says we're moving forward. And I'm an embodiment of the forward movement, not the backward movement. Perhaps this idea is the significance of the stage language in Jesus' teachings on the emerging not yet. How does Jesus say it? We in our Christianity have this idea, for the kingdom of God is as if a man should cast seed in the ground. Not the best concept for us, right? Because we have different weird ideas about kingdom and king. Here's another way. For the emerging not yet world, it functions like a person casting seed in the ground, which they put it in the ground, and then they go to bed, and they wake up, and they go to bed, and they wake up, and it's going to come up, and the man doesn't know how. But then it starts to rise out of the earth. First the blade, then the ear, then the full corn in the ear, then afterwards, right? So stages, right? So we have to say, oh, man, it's just a blade. Yeah, and now, but wait. It looks like it's growing. We have to have faith that even though all we see is the blade, even though all we see is the ear, I mean, it's undeniable that there are problems today in our nation. That's undeniable. But it's also undeniable that you can sit at any counter you want to sit in. It's also undeniable that they can't ask you your sexual orientation when you apply for a job. It's all. I mean, my great grandmother grew up, and they had signs on the wall: Irish need not apply. We don't want any of your scummy Irish coming down here to work at our place. Well, man, there's still prejudice in America. There's still ugly stuff. And the satanic thing, watch social media. I don't mean watch it. I mean, watch out for social media, because they will show you, because they know you, we're going to feed you a slow drip of whacking black people all day long. We're going to feed you over here a thing of black people attacking white people all day long. You don't even realize you're both looking at 2 totally different views of the world, because they're trying to seed in you that which is behind. But those of us who plug into the source, who say there's no way I will accept that we are going backwards, even the feeling that we might go backwards will not overcome my faith that the leaven is yet working. And I don't know, someone said, what are you going to do, just wish and pray? No, I'm going to embody the forward leaven, even though I am surrounded by a seeming headwind at the time. That's faith. That Christ's doctrinal emphasis was seed-based instead of tree-based. It doesn't say the emerging not yet world is a guy that plants a tree. It says the emerging not yet world is a guy that plants a seed. And you and I have to have confidence that the leaven is yet working, that the seed is yet working. Where? I don't see it. Hopefully, you know it's working in you. You hopefully know that today, May 28th, 2023, hopefully you know you're a little bit more representation of the not yet today than you were a year ago. That your idea of God a year ago, 2 years ago, 6 months ago, 2 months ago was a little more divided, a little more exclusive, a little more us, them, a little more. But now you're like, okay, I'm a little closer to that way, looking at things the way God does. If nothing else, you can admit that the leaven is working in you. And if you see the leaven working in you, you have to have hope that that leaven is working in other people. And you have to have hope that even people who don't have the same iconography as you, they might not have a Christian iconography. They might not have an American iconography. They might not have, they may not even, I don't know, I have neighbors of all sorts of different faiths, and the leaven is working in them. Why? Because it's a human leavening. It's a human arc of progress, not our religious shape and structure progress. What we're seeing, the progress, is a product of the source, a product of the stream, a product of the motion and the momentum of the arc, of the trajectory arc of the cosmos. And that takes shapes, Jewish shapes, Muslim shapes, atheist shapes, anti-theist shapes, LGBTQ, black, white, Democrat. It takes all sorts of different shapes. It takes all sorts of different structures with all sorts of different movers and movements. But you and I are focused on that which is beneath, because that's what we want to embody. We don't want to be an agent of a movement, an agent of the memorialization of a group, a sect, a clan. That's not. We want to be an embodiment of the subsurface stream source movement, motion, and momentum of the cosmos, because that's where the nexus of true religion resides. That's all we have time for today. Thank you, those of you who support us. Just at least consider it. At least consider it. At least say, okay, I am learning something here. I watch this guy every week. Well, not every week. I watch this guy every couple of weeks, or every other week, or a part here. I put on the treadmill. That's awesome. Would you please just consider saying, hey, I can only imagine what it must be like for you and your family. I mean, I hear the stuff you say, and I don't even want to tell my family because they look at me like I'm strange. I got to go to a Memorial Day cookout tomorrow, and I know they're going to look at me like I'm crazy. I cannot imagine what it's been like for you. Try to imagine, and imagine to the point that you get moved to say, yeah, let me just help you. We have bills. We're human like you, like, right? Like we work, Connie delivers groceries every week. She's Instacart. She's like one of the best Instacart people in the world. She's my best Instacart person, but she goes out, she gets all these great reviews. Oh my gosh, you're so great. Well, she goes out to, we make $50-$60 a day. That's okay. We can pay this bill. So you're trying to give me a sad case. I'm not trying to give you a sad case. I'm telling you, I want to express to you the urgency that this is not you looking at it going, oh, well, I know Pastor Mike. I remember him from back in, what? You don't know me. You don't know anything about what's going on other than we trust God day to day. And I'm asking you, just pray, Lord, how should I participate? And I thank you. And those of you who do, gifts large and small, you blow our minds. There's not a day that goes by that we say, oh my God, look what God has done. Thank you. You can reach us there, michaelandconnie.com/support. You can reach us on the apps, MikeCon LLC. MikeCon LLC goes right into our little bank account. We open a little corporate bank account. It goes in there. And we go day by day, hour by hour. Or you can write us, Michael and Connie LLC, 2870 Peachtree Road Northwest, number 230, Atlanta, Georgia, 30305. 2870 Peachtree Road Northwest on your screen, Atlanta, Georgia. Number 230, Atlanta, Georgia, 30305. Somebody say, why aren't you a nonprofit? Man, if you were a nonprofit, I got $20,000 I'd give you right now if I could get a write-off. I'll tell you what, take the $20,000 as income, pay $10,000 in taxes, and send us the post-tax income that you have. Somebody say, why would I do that? I want the write-off. I don't want the government to have it. Listen, the future of the world, mark my words, you're not going to be able to make that anymore. You're going to have to give what you believe in, regardless of whether you get the tax write-off or not. You just have to, it's like, yeah, but I got to pay more taxes. You don't have to pay more taxes. You were giving $20,000 out of your income, out of your household that you weren't getting. Now you're giving half of that, and you're taking the other half and you're paying it in taxes. The amount that left your house is the same amount that left your house. It's a deception. Well, I can't support you because I got to get a write-off at the end of the year. You're still getting the same net effect. But I refuse to go into a nonprofit just to incentivize people to give their support. That's not how it should work. It should work because you say, I believe in this. And whether the government backs my play and my belief on this or not, I believe in supporting this. And many of you do. And I, what is it? You didn't have to, what is that song, ZZ Top? You didn't have to thank me, but you did, and I thank you. I thank you. Bless you. Lord, peace, protection, preservation, soundness, health, abundance, aboveness on each one as we exit and close. That life and goodness, that life itself is a gift. Lord, perfect that which concerns them. The joy of the Lord is their strength. I bless you for them. I bless each one of them. And God, I give you praise for just the privilege of being able to share. I don't know how long I'll be up here sharing, but I thank you for today, and I thank you for our daily bread. Lord, we roll all our care over on you. You care for us. And God, I thank you for a safe, prosperous week, the ministry of angels in every way, shape, and form. In Jesus' name. And all that agree say, amen. Listen, have a great and glorious Sunday. If you're watching via replay, have a great and glorious whatever day it is. Connie loves you. Mikey loves you. Olivia loves you. Pop-Pop loves you. Pop-Pop's in the sunshine. And Kenobi loves you. He really does, despite his antics. Have a great week. Remember, nothing else matters but God.